Everyone, this is Modula and Podrick, and we will be informing you all about what is going on in the digital world.
Welcome to the future humans. Let's start.
Sometimes there's this huge gap between the hype and the reality, right? Well, right now, in the world of work, we are living through one of the biggest disconnects I've ever seen. And it's all about AI. So let's get into it and figure out what's really going on here. Okay, so first things first, the money. Companies are just pouring unbelievable amounts of cash into AI. I mean, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. The goal? To completely revolutionize how we work. It's an investment wave like nothing we've ever seen before. The stakes are just massive. But, and this is a big but, this is where the story takes a really weird turn. Yeah, despite all that cash, a study from the MIT Media Lab found that a mind-boggling 95% of generative AI pilot programs at work, they just fail. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. 95%. We've got billions of dollars flowing in one direction and a 95% failure rate on the other. What in the world is going on? And that is the billion-dollar paradox we're going to unpack today. So for this first part, let's dig into that massive gap. Why is all of this investment leading to, well, almost nothing? Okay, so at first glance, things look pretty good. You see a number like 75%. 3/4 of all businesses are using Gen AI in at least one way. You think, wow, that's huge. But then you look a little deeper, and that's where the real story is. Only about 10% are actually, integrating it deep into their core processes. It's like everyone's showing up to the pool party, but almost nobody's actually getting in the water. So that kind of brings us to the next piece of this puzzle, doesn't it? It's this huge disconnect between what leaders are saying and what their companies are doing. So check this out. The Financial Times did this analysis of S&P 500 companies, and what they found is just fascinating. When CEOs are on their earnings calls talking to investors, they're practically shouting from the rooftops. They're talking about a Cambrian explosion of innovation, all these amazing productivity gains. It's all hype. But then you look at their official, legally binding SEC filings, and suddenly it's a totally different story. They get super cautious. Suddenly it's all about how the risks outweigh the benefits. It's like they have two completely different scripts. And here's a perfect example that just illustrates this so well. Take Coca-Cola, right? On their earnings calls, they're talking a big game, using AI to transform their business. Sounds amazing. But then you dig into the filings to see what that actually means, and the big example they give, they used AI to help make a Christmas ad. I mean, come on. That's the perfect snapshot of this whole thing, right? The gap between this grand, transformative talk and the much, much smaller reality. And this whole situation isn't even happening at the same pace everywhere. It's creating this weird two-speed world. In the fast lane, you've got the big tech companies. They're so far ahead, they're literally treating AI agents like new members of the team, like coworkers. But then, in the slow lane, you have, well, pretty much everyone else. Most companies are still just struggling to get their people to even try the basic tools. So when you add it all up, all these failed projects, the talk versus the reality, this two-speed adoption thing, it all points to one really, really important conclusion. The problem here isn't the tech. The tech is amazing. The biggest hurdle, the critical gap we absolutely have to bridge, it's the people. I mean, think about it. The technology is here. It's powerful. It's more available than ever. So what's missing? What's the secret ingredient that's stopping this whole revolution from actually happening? Ewan Blair, the CEO of Multiverse, put it perfectly. He said what a lot of us are doing with AI right now is basically like having an iPhone, but only using it to make calls and send texts. It's such a great analogy, right? We have this incredibly powerful supercomputer in our pocket, but we're ignoring almost everything it can actually do. And that right there gets us to the absolute core of the problem. Let's call it the training gap. It's this giant chasm between just having the AI tools and actually knowing how to use them effectively. Companies are spending billions on the tech, but they're forgetting to invest in the most important part, the people who are actually supposed to use it. And really, that's the bottom line here. The companies that are going to win in this new AI era, it's not going to be the ones who spend the most money. Nope. It's going to be the ones who have the most AI-enabled workforce. It's all about empowering your people, not just buying the latest shiny tool. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time diagnosing the problem. Now for the important part. Let's talk about the solution. How do we actually unlock all this potential and finally bridge that human gap? Well, Amanda Brovey from Google says the key is something we can all learn: how to prompt AI in the right way. Just think of it like learning to have a better conversation or asking better questions. It breaks down into 4 simple steps. First, tell the AI who its audience is. Second, be super clear about your goal and give it some context. Third, and this is a big one, give it some reference material to work with. And finally, just ask really good, specific questions. It's not magic, it's a skill, and like any skill, you can get better at it with practice. But does this kind of training actually make a difference? Oh yeah, just look at these numbers. Ewan Blair shared that after his teams got training, the accounting folks processed invoices with 50% fewer mistakes. And the software teams, they were shipping code 75% faster. I mean, these aren't just fuzzy, nice-to-have improvements. That's a huge, tangible return on your investment, right there. This all has to start from the top, though. It's on the leaders. First, they have to lead by example and actually use the tools themselves. They've got to provide not just the tech, but the training to go with it. And this is so important. They have to frame AI as something that makes the workforce better, not something that's here to replace people. And finally, they have to build a culture where it's okay to experiment, to try things, and yeah, even to fail sometimes, because that is how you learn and get better. All right, so with all this chaos, all this hype and disappointment, what happens next? Where are we headed? Well, sometimes to understand the future, you gotta look back at the past. There's this great quote from one of our sources that really puts it all in perspective. The person says, "Look, I'm old enough to remember when the internet rolled out, and it seems to me we're at a very similar early stage." And that just clicks, right? This whole messy, confusing period feels brand new, but it's not. We saw the same pattern with the internet. We're in the super early days. There's going to be a ton of hype, a ton of failure, a whole lot of boom and bust before things start to even out. So after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's actually pretty simple. Success with AI is not about the tech. It's about partnership. Your employees need the training and support to actually use these tools with confidence. And leaders, they need to listen to their teams to figure out what they really need. It has to work both ways. It's a two-way street. And that leaves us with one last question, and it's for you to think about. As this whole AI revolution keeps rolling, with all of its amazing promise and its very real risks, you gotta ask yourself, is your work, is your team getting ready for the boom, or are you headed for the bust?